Parashat Pinchas. Actually, Parshat Pinchas is connected with last week's parasha, and this week is called Parashat Pinchas. Children, Pinchas was the grandson of Aaron HaKohen, and Pinchas felt, he said, "Oh, I wish I was a Kohen like my grandfather Aaron HaKohen, and like my uncles Elazar and Itamar, but I was born before my grandfather got chosen to be Kohen Gadol, and therefore I'm not a Kohen, even though I'm his grandson." And Pinchas always felt a little bad. He so wanted to be a Kohen. Well, this week's parasha, children, is named Pinchas because of a tremendous great deed that Pinchas did. And we're going to see how he gets a huge reward for what he did. If you remember, last week's parasha, we learned, children, how the evil king Balak said, I'm going to hire Bilam to try and curse the Jews and cause bad things to happen to the Jewish people. And he said, Bilam, come. I want you to curse the Jews, chas v'chalila. And if you remember, children, let's look at our map over here. The Jewish people had come out of Egypt, and they were supposed to go straight into Israel. But instead, they went down there to Mount Sinai. That's where they got the Torah. They traveled back up. They passed by Moab. They didn't trouble Moab or do anything to them. And they continued on, and now they were up here by Bashan, ready to go into the land of Israel. And now they were very close to all these countries, to the countries of Moab and Ammon. And instead of saying, I'm glad they left us alone, evil King Balak wanted to destroy the Jewish people, lo aleinu. And that's why he hired Bilam. Do you remember last week's parasha, children? That he was riding on what? What was Bilam riding on? Who remembers? Right, what did the donkey do? He did something very unusual. The donkey, right, he spoke. And in the end, instead of cursing the Jewish people, what did Bilam do? He blessed. Thank you, Moras. Yes, that's right, he blessed them. And Balak was so angry with him. And he said, I hired you to curse the Jewish people. Hey, instead you blessed them. It was not my fault. Whenever the Jewish people do good and keep Torah and mitzvot and love Hashem and serve only Hashem, Hashem blesses them. So that's how it works. Well, how can we get them to not serve Hashem? The Hashem of the Jewish people, he doesn't like when people don't have nice Jewish marriages. We're going to have to get them to marry our non-Jewish girls, and then they're going to get them to bow down to Baal Peor, to a very bad idol. And he says, good idea. Now, children, what did they do? Kids, the Jewish people, like I explained to you, although they were in the desert, now they were very close to the other nations. It wasn't like they were by Sinai desert and they weren't near any other countries. Now the Jewish people were living close to other nations. And many times they interacted and they had to go and be among the other nations. Okay, we have very little time, kids. I didn't realize almost the end of the day, so we have to go quickly through the story, okay? So, what happened? The other nations, sometimes the Jewish men, they would come and they would go shopping, and they'd sometimes go into the stores by the other countries, and they would meet them and they say, hello, it's my mother's birthday, I want to buy for her a beautiful necklace, or it's my sister's getting engaged, I want to buy for my sister a nice present, or it's my grandmother's 80th birthday, I want to buy her a nice present. And children, they would come to the stores where all of these non-Jewish people were selling their things. And what they would do is, they would leave outside the stores, they would leave old women. And they would say, Yes, I'm selling some of these out here on the table. But if you go inside the store and you go see what's inside the store, you'll find much better things over there. Go over there. And they'd go in, children. And it was actually very sad because the Moavi girls' children, they would be inside the stores. I'm going to use a bride because what used to happen was that the Jewish men would go into the stores and they would actually lock up the stores. They'd lock, and according to Torah, we need to be careful. A boy and a girl may not be locked up alone together if they're not husband and wife. And they would meet them and they'd say, "Oh, hello, nice to meet you. Let's get to know each other better." And in the end, children, they would cause them to, the Jewish boys should go together with the non-Jewish girls, with the Moavi girls, and be like a husband and a wife. And they tell them, well, if you want to be close to me like a wife, then all you need to do is bow down to my idol. And the non-Jewish Moavi girls, they used to confuse the Jewish boys. And they didn't think much of what they were doing, but they started to bow down to the Baal Peor. It was very sad, children. The Moavi girls kept on marrying the Jewish boys and taking them away from Torah and mitzvot. And Hashem becomes very angry. And there were 12 tribes, remember? And among all the tribes, there started to be a terrible plague. Let's just say the names of the tribes. Let's sing them very quickly. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Sachar, Zvulun, Dan. Let me hear you. Gad. These are the 12 Shevatim. Darling, we'll take questions at the end, sweetie, because it's almost dismissal. I need to finish the story, darling. Okay? Sorry, sweetie. So, from all the 12 tribes, children, there was one tribe. They were very, very strong. They were like strong warriors. That's why if you look at the picture, there's a picture of a big castle on his clothing. It was the tribe of Shimon. From the tribe of Shimon, children, came the strongest and the most mighty and the most powerful soldiers of the Jewish people. But these mighty, powerful soldiers among the Jewish people from the tribe of Shimon were always going into the country of Moab to go do shopping and stuff. And many, many, many of the tribe of Shimon ended up marrying and getting involved with these Moavi girls. And what did the Moavi girls make them do? Who remembers? Bow down to the idols, to the Pesel. And Hashem got very angry. And many, many of them started to die. There was a terrible plague. And all the Shimon, tribe of Shimon men started to get sick and pass away. And they come to their prince. They came to the prince. Remember that every shevet, every tribe had a nasi, had a prince, a leader of the tribe. They come to their leader. His name was Zimri. And they come to Zimri and they say, he was Jewish, but it was sad. He was very confused. He was very confused. He was like a king, He was a prince, yes. He was the prince of the tribe of Shimon. Right. And they come to him and say, we're all getting sick. We're all dying. Go complain to Moshe Rabbeinu. Go tell him, why are all the Jewish people dying? Why are all the tribe of Shimon dying? And he goes, yes, I'm going to do that. And he finds girls. Shh, girls at the back. Shh, Ariella Chayele. He finds the princess of the country of Moab. Her name was Cosby. And he decides he's going to marry her to show that it's okay for them, the Jewish boys, to get married to the non-Jewish girls. Now, it wasn't okay. But he wanted to show, you know why? Moshe Rabbeinu. Guys, maybe those two want to sit separately so they won't get distracted. Do you want to sit separate, darling? Okay, so they're not to get distracted, okay? Not to distract each other. Moshe Rabbeinu, children, he got married. Does anybody know who Moshe Rabbeinu's wife was? Zipporah. Let me give you a very harder question. Does anybody know from what country Tzipporah was from. She wasn't one of the 12 tribes. She wasn't from among the Jewish people. Which nation was Tzipporah from?
Midian.
Good job. Wow, you really listened well to your Moras. Beautiful. So Moshe Rabbeinu, children, had married a Midianite girl. A girl from this country of Midian. But it was, I'll explain to you. He married her before the giving of the Torah. And more importantly, Miriam converted. She became a Jew. In Judaism, whilst we don't go around telling people, oh, you have to be Jewish. Every nation can serve Hashem, so long as they believe in one Hashem and they follow the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach, the 7 laws for Noach, the 7 mitzvot for the sons of Noach. They don't have to become Jewish to be close to Hashem. They can serve Hashem as non-Jews. But if they want to become Jewish, we allow them. We don't say you have to be Jewish, but if a non-Jew decides he wants to become Jewish, we allow them. It's a ger, that's right. And a ger tzedek becomes completely one with the Jewish people. It's like they were always Jewish, and we totally accept them, and we marry them, and they become part of the Jewish nation. So Tzipporah, children, Moshe's wife, she converted. She was a ger tzedek, and she certainly never chas v'chalila bowed down to idols or anything like that. She became fully Jewish. But Zimri said, Cosby's father is the king of Moab. He was originally from the country of Midian. If Moshe Rabbeinu could marry a Midianite girl, Tzipporah, who was originally from Midian, I can marry a Midianite girl, Cosby. But what was the difference between Tzipporah and Cosby?
They're Jewish and not Jewish.
Right, Tzipporah converted and was keeping Torah and mitzvot and believing in one Hashem. Whereas Cosby certainly didn't convert, and she was bowing down to idols and praying to idols and making Zimri, the man she wanted to marry, also bow down to idols. Children,
Everyone is bowed down
to Haman. Yeah, it's a different story, yes. And children, Zimri comes and he makes a big show of him getting married. It's not like he even made a little wedding. He came, he stood outside where all the Jewish tents were. They all lived in tents. And he stood right there in front of everyone and showing right by the tent. I'm getting married to Cosby, Princess Cosby. Cosby Bat Tzur. Oh, I said she was the daughter of Moab. I mixed it up, sorry. Either way, Cosby Bat Tzur. I'll make you a big wedding. Who wants to see I'm getting married to this girl who wasn't Jewish? And children, as he was making the wedding, the plague got 10 times worse. More and more and more Jewish men were dying. And Pinchas looks at this and he says, oh no, more Jewish people are dying because they're going and marrying these idol worshippers, non-Jewish girls who never converted to Judaism. And he runs to Moshe Rabbeinu and he says, Moshe Rabbeinu, doesn't the Torah say that if somebody does something like that, Hakanaim pogim bo, people who love Hashem so much should stop them? And he says, you're right, Pinchas. I forgot the halacha, I forgot the law. If you remember the law, you go keep it. You go keep the mitzvah. And children, Pinchas, who was not a very big, strong warrior, he wasn't a strong, mighty soldier, but he said, I'm not afraid, even though all the people in the tribe of Shimon are these strong, mighty soldiers, and they're compared to a big, strong castle because they're so powerful. But I'm going to do what Hashem wants. And he didn't even have a weapon, children. All of the soldiers from the tribe of Shimon, they were strong warriors. They had bows, they had arrows, they had huge swords. They had tons of bows and arrows and swords. And he didn't even have a weapon, children. But he says, I'm going to stop him. You know what he does? He sees, remember I told you it was by the tents? He sees to hold down the tent. If you look at the picture of the tent, tents have string. And you need to have a big stick that digs, like a big peg, that digs into the ground like a stick to hold down the tent. And that was the only weapon that Pinchas has. And he goes up to the tent and he pulls out this big stick, like a big peg, and with his big stick, even though all the tribe of Shimon, strong, mighty warriors, were there with all of their weapons, ready to stop him, he wasn't afraid. He said, I will do what Hashem wants, and I will stop the plague from among the Jewish people. I will protect the Jewish people. And he runs to where Zimri and Cosby were children. And with his big stick, that was the only weapon he had. Done. 2 seconds. Done. He stops them, children. He stops them and they can't continue anymore. And he makes them not be there anymore. And he stops this whole thing. And as soon as he does that, the plague among the Jewish people stopped too. And children, Hashem told Pinchas, I love you so much for what you did, for stopping this terrible plague from among the Jewish people and stopping Zimri and Cosby. I am going to give you a special reward. And just like your grandfather, who was his grandfather? Who remembers? His grandfather was? Aaron HaKohen. As he tells him, I am going to give you a huge reward and you too will become a Kohen. And children, not only that, kids, when Pinchas had to come to stop Zimri and Cosby, it says he got so scared that he almost died because he was so afraid. And you know what Hashem did? Hashem sent the Malach Eliyahu Hanavi. And Eliyahu Hanavi came and he became close to, it says that the neshama of Eliyahu Hanavi went into Pinchas and it strengthened Pinchas. And from then on, the neshama of Eliyahu Hanavi was inside Pinchas. From then on, Pinchas and Eliyahu were like one person because the neshama of the angel Eliyahu went into Pinchas. And children, the Torah teaches us from Pinchas that when we see something needs to be done, something good, we run to do it. Let's say you see a poor person who needs some money for tzedakah. What should he do right away? Right? And give tzedakah. Let's say you have a friend who is in the bunk room and they don't have anyone playing with them and they look lonely. What should you do?
You go play with them.
Right, you go and you play with them. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you.